This is Michael Silber with Red Blizzard. Welcome to the Animating X and Y translation video tutorial. Let's sign into FX Studio and open the project we created in the first tutorial. Right now we have a black canvas with no object on it, so the first thing we need to do is add an object. You can choose the object you want to add by moving your mouse to the toolbar on the left. For now, let's choose the rectangle icon. By clicking on the icon, the rectangle is added to the canvas. Next, let's specify a background color. Let's pick blue with no borders and set the thickness to 0. Now that we have the object on the canvas, let's make it move from the bottom left to the top right of the canvas. In FX Studio, motion consists of going from initial position and an initial time to a final position and a final time. Let's define those initial values and final values, and then the transition. First, let's pick the initial time. Go to the timeline down below and place the playhead at the desired initial position. In this case, let's leave it at the very beginning of the animation on frame 1. Next, we'll drag the rectangle to the initial position we want by clicking on it, dragging it, and dropping it to the bottom left. As soon as I let go of the mouse, two effects are added to the timeline for that object. They're visible here as Translate X effect and a Translate Y effect. These diamonds here represent keyframes. A keyframe gives you a set of values at a particular time. In this case, the Translate X keyframes give us an X position at a given time. The X position is about 3 pixels, and the time is frame 1. Now let's move the rectangle to the top right of the canvas. We can make the transition or translation last 1 second. To do this, let's place the playhead at 1 second and 1 frame, either by dragging the playhead on the timeline or by using the time frame control. Let's use this control and place the playhead at 1 second and 1 frame. Now we drag the rectangle to the top right. When letting go of the mouse, you'll see 2 new keyframes are added to the timeline. This blue bar that goes from the initial keyframe to the final keyframe specifies the type of transition from the beginning to the end. If you look at the keyframe panel, you'll notice the transition is linear, which means it's at constant speed. We'll discuss easing functions in future tutorials. For now, let's pick another random time on the timeline, and we'll click to drag and drop the rectangle into another final position. Let's do that a few more times. Now we can play the animation. And there it goes. When dragging objects around the stage, you can constrain the object's displacement by holding down either the X key to constrain movement along the X-axis or the Y key to constrain movement along the Y-axis. If you need to adjust the position of the object at any given keyframe, the first thing we need to do is select the keyframe by clicking on it. Once selected, there are several options. You can adjust the coordinate value of that keyframe on the right in the keyframe pane within this numeric box, or simply select the object and then use the arrow keys to adjust its coordinates by moving up, down, left, and right. The third option is using the mouse to drag it. In each case, make sure you select the keyframe first so the playhead stays exactly at the same time position as the keyframe. Otherwise, a new keyframe will be added instead of adjusting the selected keyframe. Another thing you may want to do is specify new rectangle coordinates in between keyframes. You can do this by placing the playhead where you need it to be and then repositioning the rectangle by dragging it with your mouse. By letting it go, new keyframes are added to the timeline. This is Michael Silber with Red Blizzard. Thank you for watching Animating X and Y translation. To learn more about FX Studio, visit www.redblizzard.com.